This episode is brought to you by the legends over at Dog and Gun Coffee. If you'd like to get your friends, family members, and lovers the best gift for Christmas, a gift that will truly be appreciated, then you should head across to Dog and Gun and support the crew there, because they support conservation, they support us as hunters, and they make bloody good coffee ready for adventure. You guys can get $10 off of your next order when you use the code, all in caps locks, Bowhunter. Check it out, team.
Hey there, and welcome to Becoming a Bowhunter. I'm your host, Matty, and join me and our guests as we take the quality of meat back into our own hands, searching the wild for free-ranged animals to harvest as ethically as we can. I interview a variety of specialists from the bowhunting community to help fast-track your journey as a bowhunter. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this chinwag on one of your favorite topics in the world, bow hunting.
Team, what is up? Got a good little episode for you today. Sitting down with Corey from Dog and Gun Coffee. Really fun going into Dog and Gun Coffee. The headquarters there every time. I really enjoy just the people who are there. They're great people, but also they always have good coffee on offer. And we sat down while we had a brew, and we actually got chatting about Corey's adventure in his life and his introduction into bow hunting as a late onset hunter. And realistically, he's made some big changes in his life to be a part of the Dog and Gun company, to be like moving his whole life, his family, his girlfriend, like moving everyone from Sydney up to Brisbane. And yeah, there's just a lot of little things that kind of came with that story, which you're about to hear all about, as well as his adventure into bow hunting and the shifts and changes that he's seen, especially from going on different hunts with more experienced individuals and paying for certain experiences to really fast track his hunting options and his hunting abilities as well. So yeah, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, bow hunters, welcome back. Sitting here at Dog and Gun Coffee. Thank you for having me, Corey.
Oh, no worries. Anytime.
So, dude, you've had a bit of a wild trip. Like, if you think about it, it was just over a year ago that you shifted life to Brisbane. Is that correct? Or is it 2 years?
No, a year.
A year. So, literally in the height of all of the BS of COVID and whatever else that was going on, you were like, okay, well, I'm going to not only leave my life that I've got here in Sydney, leave my girlfriend, I'm going to move away to a different state completely to chase a job with, did you know Sean and Rach well before coming here?
I had met Rach twice.
Yeah.
And had been on a couple of hunts with Sean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
kind of, you get to know someone pretty well in a hunt, I reckon.
Definitely. Well, we did a week in New Zealand together.
Yeah.
So
I actually thought you were part of Dog and Gun before that.
I kind of was. I was on the books as a casual, but
Okay.
any other work I did on my own time.
So what, like just doing computer-based work for them?
It was more so just creating like TikToks, as I was doing at the start, and I was actually stitching up wholesale accounts.
Yeah, okay, calling
as a
around,
customer.
getting people on board.
Yeah, I'd just go in store and take in samples of my own
gotcha.
stash, and
Yep.
it helped.
So this is before you actually even worked for them?
Oh, yeah.
That was just your own doings?
Yep, I was an obsessed customer.
Yeah, there you go. And so what, you started rocking to cafes and saying, oh, you should try this. This stuff's really good. I like it better than your coffee. You should put it here.
Yeah, it was more so I'd just take samples with me everywhere I went, and especially when I was hunting public land in New South Wales. Mm-hmm. And anytime I bumped into a hunter, I was like, oi, check this out. And then I'd make a post in the New South Wales State Forest Hunters page, and then would have someone go, oh, hey, yeah, I bumped into you, a couple of months ago. And, I shot a deer like the next day, and, thanks for the coffee. And
so you're a good luck charm as well as a coffee giver.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And so what, they pretty much just said, look, let's make it official. Come on up.
Yeah, basically, like, we're trying to figure out the logistics of it for a while. Mm-hmm. And then I was actually supposed to move, and I was 2 weeks away from moving, and I actually wasn't even ready, hadn't even found a place or anything.
Yeah.
And then the second batch of lockdowns happened in Sydney, and I was stuck there for a while. I'd already told work that I was leaving, and I kind of got stuck for a couple months, and then Sean kind of just said to me, look, just come, I'll put you in hotel quarantine, I'll cover it, and let's just make it happen. Otherwise, you might
years, months,
you
whatever.
might miss out.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, okay. So just pulled the trigger on it and booked the flights. And a couple of weeks later, I was just chilling in a hotel room for 2 weeks.
Was it chill or was it shit?
Oh, it was amazing.
Oh, dude, I've heard so many of the complete opposite of that.
I took a PlayStation.
Yeah, okay.
And I had a gaming laptop.
I guess if you're by yourself, it makes a big difference. Like, I know a lot of couples that went through it together in a room, no airflow. Like, just it sounds like absolutely horrible, like a jail cell, essentially. It doesn't sound that pleasant at all. Like, literally a 1-bedroom sort of hotel room, and that was it. And they're just stuck. Like, obviously, if you're there by yourself, you can kind of be as comfortable as you want. You've got your PlayStation. You're just like, cool, I'll play PlayStation. I'll watch Netflix. I'll do whatever.
Yep. I also had a balcony, so
there you go.
I got real lucky.
That's one I'm hearing a lot of not having, which would be absolutely effed. And so, yeah, cool. So you came out, didn't have a house, didn't have anything, just had dog and gun.
Just dog and gun, yep.
So what did that look like? What was your role stepping in here?
Well, so Sean was kind of pressuring me to get up, make the move. So I did. Mm-hmm. And then the first thing he says to me when we got in the car is like, all right, now I got to figure out what to do with you because I don't know what you're actually going to be doing. And I was like, oh, fuck, like you've been trying to get me here for ages. Didn't know what was in store for me, but kind of just got in and started working on building up the wholesale list and just production.
Yeah, awesome. And so realistically, it's kind of like, not actually, but it's like taking on an apprenticeship, right? Like the last year, you've kind of had to learn how to roast beans as well as do everything else.
Oh,
you
yeah.
guys are doing here.
Yeah, and just figuring out how a business runs and, you know, what affects it, you know.
Has that been a big learning curve for you? Do you think, like, prior to that, I think my learning curve was huge when I started my own business because you just don't understand the ins and outs. And you think of a business, and I think so many people think of a business as just being this massively profitable thing that has all of this stuff just to give away. Like, it seems that there's expectations from some folk that you can just get given it. And you're like, well, no, there's actually like a process that you're meant to buy from businesses, oddly enough. And I think especially something like dog and gun that's a consumable, it's like, I don't know, I'm sure people come to you guys and expect some form of a handout. It's like, it's just not the way that it's not the way it should work. It's not, I don't know. I think being on both sides of business, I've seen it from both sides. And I think that, I don't know, it's a hard way to say it. Like some people, and this is just the world in general, some people feel like they are more deserving of things just because they are there. And it's like, well, it shouldn't be that way. I don't think. They're entitled, right? Entitled white folk.
Yeah, kind of. But like, see, we don't mind doing that sometimes, especially for people who are really dedicated to us. Because
definitely, and I think that's a different level, right? As well.
Yeah, but I guess everything comes with being a business in this space. It's such a small space, and people just kind of want to take advantage of it sometimes. But
yeah, it's upsetting. But I think really that's just it's just a part of business. It is just the way it is.
Definitely.
Like the different levels I've been on, the different work I've done with different businesses now. Like, yeah, it's pretty interesting. You see it almost on every route, every level, every type of business. It's just the way it is, unfortunately. But let's kind of talk over like what does your day-to-day look like now?
Well, when I get to work, it's first things first, coffee. So it's typically whoever gets in first. Either Sean or myself will jump on the coffee machine and we'll just make a round of coffees for everyone who's here.
Yep.
I usually check emails, just check to see if invoices have been paid for wholesales, and then kind of just shift on to production or orders, depending on what needs to be done.
Yeah.
We do kind of get a structured day. So certain days of the week you're doing certain things. Mm-hmm. If it's a roasting day, I'll do production in the morning and then go roasting because you don't know if you're going to be there for 2 hours or 4 hours.
How come? Why is it such a variable?
Yeah, it just depends on what we need, what's coming up. If we got sales coming up or, we need to do instant or pods, then we need to make sure we have enough coffee to do that and then have enough coffee for our everyday sales.
Yeah.
And it also depends on if the roastery is free on Thursdays because we roast Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Got you. Yes, because it's off-site that you go and roast, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Talk me through the process of your instant because it's delicious and it's not like your regular instant that you buy, the freeze-dried stuff. How is it? What's the different process? What do you guys do for it?
So it starts with roasting the coffee. So we use a blend. At the moment we're doing our full send. Mm-hmm. And so we have a third-party company that does it for us. So we just go drop it off and then just wait for it to come. Yep. And then we package it.
Got you. So it just literally comes to you pre-done. You don't have to actually process it as such.
Yeah. As much as we'd like to get all that stuff, it's pretty expensive to get all the freeze-drying equipment.
But it's still essentially they roast the bean, they grind the bean, they freeze-dry it, and then that's how you then consume it, just like that, essentially?
Yeah, so we will roast it, we'll drop it off, and then they do the brewing and freezing.
So they brew, what do you mean the brewing? They make a liquid, and then they freeze-dry that?
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, okay. I always wondered how that worked as a process. It's like, how are they just freeze-drying the bean, and that's what makes it then able to transfer into some form of liquid or something? Like, it just seemed... Yeah,
it tastes like dirt.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I was like, how does that actually work? So it makes a lot of sense. There's an in-between step. Okay, cool. So in regards to the roasting side of things, like how technical does it actually get?
It kind of depends. It depends on the bean, the freshness of the bean, if it's holding more moisture than normal or whatever, even the ambient temperature of the room.
Yeah.
It makes it.
Especially humidity and whatever else, right? It can make it massive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been struggling with that lately.
Yeah,
it's been a massive slap in the face. I've just started going, I really got this thing nailed. And then ambient temperature's a bit higher and then everything just goes all wild.
Yeah, wow.
There's so many different variables. You never know what's going to happen.
So what, you just end up making like a whole heap of Black Death when you're not meaning to?
Yeah. It's basically controlled burning.
Yeah, okay, cool. Good. And so in regards to, like, obviously you said there's a fair learning curve to it. Do you feel like you've got it nailed yet? Or you think it's like a lifelong, ever ongoing process?
Yeah, I don't see myself mastering it anytime soon.
Yeah, okay.
There's just too many variables.
I've noticed quite a lot, and I appreciate it, but at the same time, I'm just lazy with it, that I will do things with my coffee, and people will pull me up and say, you could do that a little bit better by doing X, Y, or Z. Like, you shouldn't just let it run through the machine, or you should always make sure you've got your hot water like this, or make sure before you pour it over the beans that you do this. Do you feel like you've gone that route? Like, you're like full coffee snob now?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
It depends on what I feel like. And it depends on what equipment I have around.
Uh-huh.
Here we used to be really big into filter brews. So we, pull out a Chemex or a V60 and just be real technical. But now we have the espresso machine. It's kind of grind beans, run it through, make your milk, and that's it.
It's a very pretty coffee machine, I must admit. I've got like a small little Breville. It's like nothing compared to that. But obviously it's a house style compared to in store.
They'll pull a different coffee, that's for sure.
Definitely. And I, like I said, I actually really appreciate it. Like, I understand the need for it, but at the same time, I'm like, when I make my morning coffee, I don't want to spend the time doing 10 different things. I think that's where it comes down to why. This is probably one of the things as to why I really love what you guys have here as a brand and a company and what you offer, because it's almost like it's so hard to stuff it up as a non-experienced brewer. You pretty much pour and it's there, right? I've got a Breville machine. I turn it on. I fill it. I literally run the water through the coffee through the machine the whole time. I don't do hot water or anything off to the side. And that's how I make my long black every day. It's just done. It's ready. Tastes delicious. And everyone's like, but you could change it, and that means that you wouldn't get as much of a bitter taste. I'm like, you know what? I just like it the way that I do it. It's just good. I enjoy it that way. And I think what's cool is that you guys have such a process, or like just the way that you guys brew everything. I know this is a bit of a kiss ass in a sense, but it's like, I just really like your product in general. Like, I'm a buyer of the product, and I always will be.
That was me too.
Yeah.
That's exactly why I'm here.
Yeah.
Who would have thought coffee and bows would have brought me into a job like this?
Yeah. It did. Here we are.
Oh, yeah, I'm grateful for it.
Relocated, the dogs, the missus, everything came up with you.
Yep.
But it took quite a long process, right? Like, it was quite the wait because of the way of the world.
Yeah, it was about 9 months, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we saw each other, lucky, once every 2 months after the borders opened. So it's 3 months not seeing each other.
Yeah.
And then things finally got better, and then the housing crisis happened. Couldn't find rentals. Until we did, and things have been great ever since.
Well, there you go. That's good. It's good to have you up here. And within saying that, you said like obviously the bow hunting side of things is something that was really appealing to you. Was rifles ever a thing for you? Or
I do want to get my my license, and I do want to get a rifle, but I can't see myself ever choosing it over the bow. I think with the experiences I've had, even though it's only been 2 and a bit years of bow hunting, I feel like it would lack that sense of, you know, adventure. It kind of just seemed like shooting rather than hunting.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting. I went on a hunt just recently, and it was definitely more so that. And we went with the purpose of getting meat, which was great. We got our meat, and we walked away with that, and we were happy. We were stoked. And yeah, I don't know. Just the process of going out just with rifles only. Like the boys had rifles, I was just with them, pretty much just helping to find the deer. And it was just, as a process, in my head, it was lacking something. And it's all I had to do was carry my bow with me, and I'm sure it would have been a different story. Although I wasn't planning on shooting anything with the bow, essentially, because they were always there just to get meat. So I understand the process is exactly what you're talking about, like that. It's not even that you feel. I just feel like I'm. It's hard to explain, right?
It feels like you're cheating.
It does. That's what I was about to say. It kind of feels
way.
like you're cheating, but you're not at all. Like it's just another tool. It's another process. And I've applied for my license, and as soon as it comes, like it's definitely going to be my first tool that I probably go out and use it. If we need a freezer full, I'm going to go out. I'm going to say, okay, well, I'm going to go shoot a deer. I'll butcher it up, and I'm going to spend the rest of the weekend bow hunting, and I'm stoked on that. Like I'd be super pumped for that, because if anything, the pressure's completely off. I almost feel like for so many years, I even tried to like film too much of my content and whatever else, and that was like putting extra pressure on the whole process, and I would get so close. And then just before it was all about to happen, like you'd be so worried about, oh, is it filming right? Is this going on right? Is XYZ happening? And then all of a sudden you just mess up this whole situation because you're too focused on something else. Whereas I feel like if you go out and your main goal is to get meat down, you get meat down within the first afternoon, you just spend the rest of the time just stoked. Like you're just out there. It doesn't matter. You're happy no matter what happens, really. Yeah. That's my little rant.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way.
Yeah.
I think it's a purpose-built tool. And if you need meat or you want meat, go for it.
Yeah.
But then after that, I feel like that's when the stick comes out.
Definitely. I think there's so much, I think there is so much in rifle hunting. Like, I've not touched any of it, to be honest, but, like, the different calibers, the different weights of bullets, the different, like, ranges you're going to shoot. Like, it's a deep topic that I'm like, that's just too much. It's too dense for me right now. Like, I don't want to focus on that. I've got other things. Yep. Hence why I'm happy to pick up my bow and walk out with it. But at the same time, it's like you do start to nerd out a little bit on like, oh, arrow weights and whatever else. Like it's an ongoing cycle of that thing. But I think in a sense, I'm stoked that I started with bow hunting. I stuck with bow hunting. Like I kind of set the goal for myself that I wanted to be somewhat efficient with bow hunting before I ever got my rifle, because I didn't want to just use it as a scapegoat, essentially.
Yep.
And so I feel like I've definitely got to that stage now. But I'm also excited to get a rifle license so I can just have that tool and go out for a day trip if I need to and do that process side of things. So hunting for 2 years. Did you start it? Like, how did you get into bow hunting? What was that process?
It happened with me about 7 years ago. I got to work real early one day. I was working at a cafe, and I was about an hour early, and I walked past a hock shop, and I was like, oh, I'll just go in there and have a look. And they had a couple of bows hanging from the roof, and I just looked at what ones were there and which one I could pull back. And
compound bows?
Compound bows,
Yep.
And ended up picking up a bear mauler that come with release aid, full ready to hunt kit, had arrows and stuff, and so just started practicing like that. And I'm left-handed, and I bought a right-handed bow.
Yeah, got you.
So I was shooting it left-handed, like a spastic. And
how do you actually make that work?
You don't. You don't.
Like, you literally cross paths, don't you, to make that happen?
Yep. And you couldn't hit a barn broadside.
Yeah, got you. So just smack yourself plenty of times and whatever else?
Oh, yeah. And I ended up derailing it. And took it to a shop down at Benson's Archery, and then they kind of scolded me. And they were like, what are you doing? And then they kind of, ushered me in the right direction. And after that, just started shooting more and more and more.
Yeah.
And then ended up buying a new bow about a year later, and then just shot in yards. Like I was at a job that didn't really allow me to have any time off. You kind of got punished for time off.
Got you.
So, and I don't know anyone that hunts. No one in my family hunts. No friends hunted. Yeah, so I kind of just did it shot for about 5 years, on and off.
Yeah.
And then finally,
Just backyard fun sort of stuff.
Yeah, always with the purpose of hunting. I ended up getting my R license and sat on it for ages, and then two of my mates, one picked up a bow, and he learnt with me, and then a mate got his rifle license, and then we started actually going out on hunts.
Do you remember the process of getting your R license?
Yes.
Go through it. What do? You essentially have to go and sit at a course, right?
Yep. Yeah, you sit at a course, open book. It's pretty easy, and then sometimes you'll get someone who like helps you out with it. Particularly where I went, it wasn't the best experience. It wasn't a proper experience, but kind of learnt what I need to learn and paid, and that was it.
And then once you've actually, like, how long did it take once you've done that to get your actual license ready to roll?
I sat on my paperwork for a year.
Okay, just because you hadn't processed it yourself.
Yeah, and it was I was still at that job that didn't allow me any time off.
Yes.
And then, so as soon as I was transitioning jobs, I sent the paperwork in. But my mate did it, and I think it was about a month and a half.
Okay, cool.
Until he got his license.
And then once you've got your license, what does that look like? Like, you have to book into some places, not others. Like, there's schedules as to when you can go versus not go.
No, you can book in. You have to book in for all of them. And there's allocated slots.
Allocated for bow hunting versus rifle hunting, or is it?
Yeah, you do have some state forests that are bow only.
Okay.
They're really tiny. I've never been to any bow only ones just because I didn't feel like they were worth the time. It was pretty straightforward. Now they have an app, so it's way easier.
Yeah, gotcha.
Which is quite nice. But before it was a bit of a pain in the ass trying to figure out how to do things, checking all the harvest reports from previous years to see if it's worth going.
Yeah, wow. So what, when you actually get a deer down, or like an animal down, or you report it back to them?
You can, and you should, but you don't have to.
Got you. And so what's that look like if you choose to report it back to them? Do you know?
You just tick a box.
Got you. That's it.
And you can attach photos if you want, but other than that, yeah, it's just ticking a box.
And it's just data collection for them. They then publish that for the public to see?
Yep.
Okay. So it's helpful if you, depending on your mindset, right? It's helpful for you to go and do that, because then other hunters who are wanting to get into it can see, well, this forestry is quite good. It supplies some good animals.
It's a double-edged sword, though.
It is, because potentially a lot of hunters start rocking up. And so I can see both sides of thought.
Yep.
What, in regards to the state forestry stuff, what did you find worked the best? Like, when did you see animals versus when did you not see animals?
So my first ever hunt I went out with my mate Sam, and he took the rifle out, and we kind of just did the whole stalking thing, just like, just being quiet through the bush for days.
Just walk and hope you see something.
Yeah, just didn't see anything.
Yeah.
We couldn't really tell sign or anything because we were so green.
Yes.
We just didn't know anything. And then we kind of just drove around and ended up finding goats from the road.
Yeah, wow.
And then I left my release aid at camp.
Yeah.
So I was out,
Yeah.
and he ended up shooting one with the rifle.
Yeah.
And then on other hunts, it was the same thing. We kind of just walked around because we were trying to learn the state forest.
Yes.
And then, you'd bump deer because you weren't being cautious enough because you just spent 7 hours going 120 meters because you're moving at a snail's pace because you just don't know.
Yes, yeah.
Whereas now I kind of have a very different approach because I know a bit better now.
You've learned a few things, eh?
Yeah.
And so, like, was there any rhyme or reason, I guess, to, like, obviously you found goats on the side of the road versus going as far back into the state forestry as you could? Like, did you see a difference in what you did, essentially, to when you saw the animals?
Definitely found it more effective just to go from the, like, drive around, just because we were trying to get a gauge of how big the place was and what different type of terrains were there, because you don't know what one gully is going to look like compared to another.
Yeah.
So we're mainly just scouting to see, like, where we should go the next morning, because I think it was like one of the last days.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to figure out where should we go or where should we go next time, and we're just trying to get a gauge on the place.
It's funny. I think years ago, I never really understood terrain as such. And what I mean by that is that now I'll enter a space and be like, this looks like deer country. This looks like a good space. Like if I was an animal, this is where I'd want to hide. If I was a pig, I would be hiding down that creek. And like, I'd say 8 times out of 10, you go down there, 9 times out of 10 even, you go and you see sign then. You don't necessarily always see the animals, but you see the sign like, okay, well, there's some deer shit, or there's some pig poo. Like, yes, they've been here. There's footprints right there. But that stuff, like, I remember it must have been 2019 at Easter. It was, yeah, when I very first got my recurve bow. Like, I just started to get, like, excited about hunting and bow hunting in particular. And we went up to my family's farm up at Springshaw. And I hit up my cousin, like, Jack, like, show me some stuff. Like, what's this? Is that a cow print? Is it a pig print? Like, what's what? Just explain it to me. Obviously, you can tell like size difference, but I'm like, what do they look like? And so he's like drawing it on the ground for me, like, this is what a cow looks like. This is what a pig looks like. This is what a deer looks like. Mm-hmm. And then when we're going along, he's like, all right, well, what's this? I'm like, oh, it's a pig. And he's like, yeah, that's a pig. Like, because there's only pigs or cows there. So, and dingoes, or wild dogs, I should say. But it's like just getting that. It's like obviously first understanding the visualization of it, being able to then see it in the actual wild and understand what that is, decipher between it, and then be able to, I think, use that then location dependency as you go around, or terrain dependency. You're like, okay, well, cool. This looks like a deery place. This looks like a big place. It makes such a big difference. I think as much as I've never gone into the state forestry or whatever else, it seems that everywhere that I have hunted, but it's always, I know that there's going to be animals there, is the difference. So it's like, I can go to a new block. Like, for instance, I went on a hunt just recently down at Ebor with Matt Williams, and we knew there was pigs there. So it's like, you don't have to travel far because there's animals there. And it's like, if I was to go to a state forest, the hard thing is that you don't necessarily know that there's animals there. Yes, you do, but you don't. So it's like, I could easily enough walk into an area and be like, well, this looks like a pretty good place for deer. And then you could slow right down and look around and not see anything, and it'd just be like, so be it. But it's like, I almost feel like what that is in your back pocket is a tool to be able to say, well, here's where I'm going to go fast versus here's where I'm at least going to slow down. When I enter into that terrain, that's where I'm going to start to ease off a little bit, take the foot off the pedal and just chill. Do you feel like that has been the upgrade of your knowledge as well?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, you kind of almost had the chance to upgrade quite fast, right?
Yeah.
With your bow hunting. Yeah. So explain to us how that came about. Like, what were the opportunities and experiences that you went through that kind of gave you the biggest learnings?
I found it very helpful to go out by yourself. Mm-hmm. I found that to be the best thing to do, because if you felt like you were doing something right and you were with someone else and you felt like they were doing something wrong, then, and it'd blown an opportunity. Mm-hmm. You could kind of get a gauge on where you're at. Like, if you go out by yourself and you get an opportunity on an animal, you can kind of tell, like, well, all right, this is what I did right, this is what I did wrong.
Definitely.
Instead
versus
of like
they stood on a stick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I found that quite helpful, especially during my first success. Like, that was at a state forest place I'd never been to before, and it was just, I'll just see what's happening. Saw sign, found sign, and just followed it along, and then ended up right onto some goats. And
yeah, cool. You didn't hear him at all. You just saw the sign.
I saw the sign, and then I heard him.
Yeah, okay.
And then saw him about 150 meters away, and I was like,
yeah, all
right, this is happening.
Yeah.
And you just sprint after him.
And then from there, so obviously, I strongly agree with the solo hunting. I spent so long solo hunting, though, that when I finally got to hunt with people, I quickly realized my downfalls.
Yep.
Like, because I spent so long solo hunting to start with, like, it was almost like, I'd say probably maybe even 2 years before I even got to start hunting with other people, maybe a year and a bit before I started hunting with other people. And that, like, really opened my eyes. I was like, wow, okay. Did you feel the same thing once you got out then with the experienced people, I should say?
Yeah, so the difference between, going out and getting success on my own and then going out and meeting Sean for the first time, going out on a hunt with him, I learned so much. I was like, holy shit, I've been going...
Sean, once again, the owner of Dog and Gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's when I first met him. He just invited me on a hunt and travelled up just to hang out for a couple of days. And
Where was this at?
this was at Red Hill.
Yeah,
Yeah, so travelled about 8 hours just to get there, and
definitely.
just on our first walk, just watching how he walked and how he approached things.
I feel like he's a very patient hunter. Is that a correct assumption?
Depending on the wind.
Okay.
If the wind's just blowing left, right, and centre, you won't stop walking.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets very determined when it's windy.
There you go. Just trying to stay warm, hey? No. And so, what were kind of some of the biggest takeaways for you then of that hunt? Do you remember?
Yeah, just being more mindful of just your clothing and your bag, like just rubbing up against things as you're moving through thick scrub. Your speed and foot placement. That was a massive one. And then kind of just being patient, just, knowing when to just sit still.
Yeah.
And kind of just wait for things. I don't think we had too many opportunities on that trip, but I still did learn a whole bunch.
Yeah. Was there many animals about when you got there for that time?
We saw a fair few deer and a couple of goats, but not too much. It kind of seems like every other time we've went back, it's just kind of there's more and more and more.
Okay,
and
that's a good sign.
Yeah, and I think it's more so just our experience being there, like knowing the terrain.
Definitely knowing the location of the block a little bit better. I've only been there twice, and I really like the property. Unfortunately, the first time I was there was under the old manager, and he just gave us misinformation about the block. And so the second time, because I actually didn't go in certain spaces because you just can't get all over the whole block the whole time. The second time, we were walking along this road because we thought it was part of the block, and all of a sudden the neighbour rocks up, beeping their horns. "Oi, what are you doing here?" I'm like, "Sorry, we got told this was part of the block." And they're like, "No, it's fucking not." Like they were upset, and understandably so. Luckily, like we didn't go hunt or do anything, but it's like it was just unfortunate, and it left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth because of the first person that stuffed us over.
Yeah,
and like just because that whole experience, and like it was all good. We said sorry. There was no worries, no qualms. It just we walked back onto the block. We confirmed where we were meant to be, and then it was all good from there. But it was just that was like definitely left me a little bit of a bitter taste. Not towards Helen at all. It was like I felt bad for her in that circumstance because of the misrepresentation of what the block actually was. But then when we got out and got up to some of the back country, like it was incredible up through the back there. There's a lot of fallow deer there, at least from what I saw when I was there. And that was years ago now. I haven't gone back for a while. You guys have been there quite regularly, quite recently too, right?
Yeah, I think I've done 3 trips there this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And was it this year or last year that you got your fallow deer there?
That was this year.
That was this year. That was your first deer, right?
First deer, yeah.
So let's talk through that. What was like what was the hunt? What did the hunt look like prior to, and then how did you guys get separated, and then how did it all piece together?
So we went out for our morning walk. I think this was the second day.
Mm-hmm.
First day held some opportunities, not too many.
Mm-hmm.
I think because it's just a half day. 'Cause, you got to drive in.
Definitely.
And we went out for the morning and just had a couple opportunities. Nothing really happened because of it. And we'd been out for, I'd say, like 6 hours, 7 hours.
Yep.
We decided to go back for lunch. And I was eating quite regularly at this time because I was on the Bowhunters Challenge.
Bowhunters Challenge, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So I was carrying boiled eggs in my pocket.
Increased your uptake and your intake, I should say, and you stuck to it on that hunt, didn't you? You went hard.
I tried.
Yeah.
I tried having a breakfast that really didn't work out. Quinoa flake, oats.
Why'd you take that one?
Just because it was convenient.
Yeah,
I thought I was looking for the easiest option in the morning instead of having to cook or whatever.
Yeah.
Because obviously there's no refrigeration there, and Yeti space is quite limited.
Yep.
Yep. Because I was packing, food for every other day.
Yes,
I ended up essentially eating 1 meal a day while we're there.
Yeah, wow.
Which is pretty wild.
Big difference.
Yep.
Yeah.
But so we went to go get some food, and we had taken the MOG for that trip, and Sean needed to do a little bit of work, and I could hear goats just down by the river. They were probably on the other side of the river on a neighbouring property, but I'd already grabbed my bow, and I was like, "Oh, well, I'll just go for a walk." And see if I can find anything. And just started making my way down the hill. It was real rocky and just trying to be quiet. And when I got down to like the riverbank, I could see goats on our side of the river, and they were only about 150 meters away.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I might be on here. So just shuffled in left into this clearing. And as I was like halfway across this clearing, there was a fallow doe. She was about 15 meters away from me.
So she was already there. And you just hadn't seen her yet?
Yeah, she was just feeding. And so she just had her head down and she just turned like quartering away. And I was like, oh, shit. I need to actually get on the right side of this clearing because there's a shrub in between me and her, and it's just like covering her vitals. Yeah, it was just like real flimsy sticks, but I didn't want the arrow to deflect. Yeah. So I just ended up like just nervously shuffling off to the right, and just drew back, and I was just shaking like a leaf. I couldn't get anything settled, and I just closed my eyes just for 2 seconds, just counted down and opened them, and then just sent it home. So
you were at full draw when you closed your eyes then?
Yeah. I was just like, all right, well, you got to calm yourself, because I was all over the place because I wasn't expecting that opportunity to,
unfold
jump.
The way it did.
Yeah, because we've been chasing deer at that property for ages, for a year at this point, and never had any opportunity, and just sent it, and ended up hitting a good, and took a while to collect myself, and I was just trying to film and stuff like that, get content while we're there, and ended up like going to look for the arrow, and I'd come around like a bush that was maybe 5 meters away from where I hit her, and she was another 5 meters behind that, just standing perfectly broadside. Oh. And she's just standing, just trying to see what's going on, and I ended up putting another arrow on and just sent it straight through her heart.
So how long after was this?
Oh, this is probably about 2 minutes.
Yeah, got you.
Yeah, so she's just standing there just trying to figure out what's going on.
So she got hit and she didn't really run off too far or anything?
No, she went all of, 10 meters there.
And then came back and just was hanging?
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah, and she was just trying to figure out what the hell was going on. And, so I just sent another one, just went straight through the heart, and I kind of just gave her a couple minutes because I saw her run off. She went across a little creek, around a bush, and I was like, okay, cool, I'll just give her some time just in case, that wasn't good. Yeah. And then after about 5 minutes of, searching for arrows and stuff like that, I ended up going to where I last saw her. As I come around the bush, there's this deer just standing there, just staring at me. And I'm like, oh, shit. So I put another arrow on, and I've come to full draw again. And I was just about to send it. And then I just happened to look down at my feet, and I was standing on top of the deer that I shot.
Holy shit. What was the other deer doing, just looking straight at you?
It was just staring at me. And just
got you just like dumbfounded by what you were?
Yeah, and I was like, oh. And I just had a thought in my head, well, look, I've already taken my fill. Yeah. I'm not going to get too greedy here.
Yeah.
And so I ended up letting down, and it ran off. And then, just spent some time just sitting there just going, like, this just happened.
Trying to process it. Yeah.
And just, and then I was like, oh, I should probably go back to Sean. And I go up and just thinking about how do I approach this? How do I tell him? And, I ended up just walking up there, and he just looks at me. He goes, oh, how'd you go? And I was like, yeah, all right. And he's like, oh, okay. And I was like, you might want to put your boots on. He's like, why? And I just hold up the bow, bloody arrow, and he's like, what'd you get? Deer. And he's like, what? Because we spent a year, a couple of hunts together, and he's just been trying to document that process of me shooting my first deer.
The whole time?
Yeah, the whole time. And then it's just the one time he doesn't come with me.
It all comes together.
Yeah. So we ended up going down there and, dressed her out and brought her back up. And then he's like, all right, I'm going for a walk, while I was fleshing out the hide. And about half an hour later, he comes back, goats on his shoulder. Yeah. Just shot the goat that I was going to go in on.
That's good. That's what I actually really love about that place, because of the creek. It kind of bends, right? And so you can obviously, even on that big straight part that's right there, you get down the bottom, and you can pretty much every 25 meters, there's a new stretch of creek that is untouched land, in a sense. So it's like you shoot a goat at the very start where you drive down, and all you have to do is walk 50 meters and the goats are there. They just don't maneuver that far. I went with Adam Barter, and I talked about this on the podcast with him before. And I shot my very first goat there. And I started butchering, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll help you out." I'm like, no, go chase the goats. They're just there. Like, why would you not? It's like just such a good opportunity. And I think that's also why I really like hunting creeks, because you can shoot a pig or you can shoot an animal so close, and like you'll be so close to them as the first point. And then all of a sudden, you've got another opportunity 100 meters down the creek. Like it's just so much fun in that sense. And it's so much. You have to be so alert in the creeks as well, because you're looking under everything. You're taking steps through sand or whatever it might be, and they can come from any angle. It's just it's a bit more riveting in a sense.
I've definitely found a love for creek hunting, especially recently at Kayuga.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's insane.
I can imagine. And so, fallow deer, got her down. She's the only deer that you've shot with the bow?
Yeah, to this point,
Yeah. Did you keep all meat?
Yep.
Yeah. And what did you do with it, process-wise? Like, what did you cook all your own meals and stuff out of it, or did you give some away, or?
No, I think I've kept all of it.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting in the freezer at home. I minced a whole bunch.
Yeah.
And I have burgers every now and again with it. Just this last weekend, I had a mate come up from Sydney, and we had Benny burgers.
Yeah, nice.
So it was nice to share that with him.
Definitely.
But I'm still going through it.
Yeah, wow. When was it? It was like the start of the year, wasn't it?
February. Yeah, I've been quite slack on
definitely
getting through it.
Keeping her, savoring her for the right times. And then up until then, you'd pretty much hunted goats and fallow, and that was kind of it, right?
Yep.
And so on to the pig hunting. It's kind of unfolded a lot more for you in the last, 6 months really, if even.
Yeah. Well, bow hunting in general, just this year has just been insane. Just I haven't been out as much, but the success rate, I think I'm on like 5 successful hunts in a row.
Yeah, okay. It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
It definitely helps with building that confidence too, right? Like, I honestly spent so long going out every single weekend and just almost expecting to not come home with anything. It's like if you could work yourself up to know that you would not come home with anything, you were going to be better off at the end of the hunt, because it's like you go in and put all your I don't know, all your eggs on it and hope that you're going to win. It's like, I don't know, you just come out once again, no more meat. Like, God damn it. And then, much the same. Like, once it kind of clicked, and everyone kept saying it to me. Once it clicks, like, once you get down a few animals, it'll just click for you, and it'll just start to process. Like, it'll just happen a lot more fluently. And I'm like, oh, yeah, we'll see. And then I got down my first year, and it felt like it was a big dry spell for a long time. But it's because I didn't really hunt for too long. And then I got back into hunting, and it's just, it just clicks. It just comes. It's good. But within that process, you obviously shifted from the Red Hill hunts to some of the pig hunts you've gone on with some incredibly well knowledgeable blokes recently. What does that like? How did that play out? I guess because you guys firstly went down with Nick Morton and Jackie Moon, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So how did that look, and what was the process there?
Nick had been trying to get me down there for it was since the summer of the year before, so probably about like 7 months. And he's just like, "Oh, look, you got to come down as soon as winter hits. Come down." And so he just kept on top of me about it. And then finally, we picked a weekend and got over there, because I've spent like since the end of last year building a relationship with those boys, because I met them on the drive down to Sydney after lockdowns last year, and then every time I'd go through, I'd just pop in, spend a couple of hours with them, and stuff like that. So I'm quite fortunate in the position that I am to be able to rub shoulders with people like that, and get invited on hunts like this. So we finally just ended up getting down there, and it's an incredible part of the world. Yeah, definitely. It's all through Hunter Valley, right, essentially? Yep. And obviously it's named the Hunter Valley for a good reason. Like, for me, the thing that baffled me, or that like opened my mind the most when I went down there was, and I talked about this on so many podcasts, but the opportunities that they have, like, it's just endless game. It seems like there's just so many animals down and about there. Did you see the same sort of, like, was it the same for you? You got down there and just saw so many animals compared to what you used to? Yeah, like you'd look at like one like ridge on the other side of the mountain, and then you're like, there's 1,000 goats there. Like, it's just white speckles, like up everywhere in the clouds, and you're like, this is insane. Yeah. And it's like, really, especially some of the hunting here in Queensland, you see
an animal and you're like, all right, it's on, let's go. Like today's a good day.
Yep.
I was like down there, exactly right. Like I just saw so many animals in the different parts that you go to. I was just like, wow, like, yeah, mind boggling in a sense. So explain it, because obviously those boys have a bit of a love for the big mountain boars. Was that always the plan, chasing mountain boars when you were down there?
Yeah, that was the main focus.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a different type of hunting that
Yeah.
I'm used to. Like, it's kind of, you just spot them and you just run. Because, you know, you might be on, you know, a face
Mm-hmm.
and you're glassing over to the other side, but it might take you 40 minutes just to...
It's like, yeah, so where you're looking at might be, as the crow flies, maybe a K at most. But then to get there, it's like 3K, right?
Yeah.
Like at least, because you have to go straight down, straight back up. And it's hard country. It's not just cruisy.
Yeah, it's like being, you know, South Island, New Zealand. Just It's just hilly.
Yeah, yeah, and that stuff is tiring. Trying to walk up that fast or run up that fast is hard yakka, right? It gets pretty rough.
Oh, yeah, it gasses you.
I love the video that Nick put up of Sean trying to make up the hill. He's like just coming out, just like, no, just looks dead.
I was very shocked. I'm glad I didn't get ran
videoed
through the
as well.
gauntlet.
Yeah.
Because that's mainly Nick. He's the one just sprinting
Yeah.
up these mountains. Because Sean proved to me how fit he was when we went and did backpacking in New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wrecked.
Yeah.
I was ruined. We were like 10 meters into the walk, and I was like, I'm done. You know, I considered Sean a mountain goat just to see the video of him just absolutely gassed. I was like, oh shit!
Yeah,
I'm
wow, what
very fortunate.
Yeah. But I mean, within saying that, you also dropped 12 kilos, 10 kilos.
I
What
think
did you lose in the end?
I think it was 15.
15 kilos you dropped.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a weighted pack and a half, right? Like that's
yeah.
a lot of weight to not have to carry around compared to going from, especially New Zealand hills to even the Hunter hills. Like, yes, they're somewhat similar, but very, very different, right?
Yeah.
Steepness similar,
Mm-hmm.
everything else different.
Yeah, I'm quite fortunate not to have been carrying that weight, because that definitely would have put a dent in, you know, the excitement.
Yeah, might have had you gasping for air, hey?
Or throwing up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, obviously, I think the Bow Hunter Challenge, it obviously is, for everyone who saw it through, who actually stuck to it, got incredible results. Like,
Oh yeah.
everyone, over 10 kilo losses. Everyone came in looking to lose weight as well. And so it's something that I still essentially have. I'm not touching it right now. I will probably kickstart it again in the new year, maybe. I kind of just get my head around all of the business changes I had going on for this last 6 months. So I think I've definitely thought about it. It's definitely something I'll probably bring back. Yeah, I'm sitting on it. What would your, I guess, recommendations be there?
For the Bowhunter
Yeah.
Challenge. I reckon if you've just been sitting there and you've been like looking at yourself for the last year, 2 years, 3 years, like I was, and just going, no, I'm not happy with this.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as it comes available, jump on it. It's been the best thing I've done for myself. Every year, I'm always looking at ways of improving myself, and I think this is the best thing I've ever done.
That's awesome.
Just the confidence
huge.
that gives me, just the benefits in bow hunting too. Like, I realized, even when I just lost the 5 kilos initially to begin with, when I shot the fallow doe, just noticing the difference, because we were only there just before I started the challenge.
Yeah.
And I felt way better. I wasn't getting as gassed. I was able to keep up with Sean a bit better. And it just, ever since then, it just gets better and better and better.
Yeah, that's huge. I think what's really admirable is the fact that you've just kept on it, right? Like, and so many people do that. Like, that's the whole purpose of it. It's a lifestyle transition. It's not just about dropping some weight. But the cool thing is that as a benefit of changing your lifestyle, you also see all the weight loss go with it.
Yep.
But the cool thing is that here we are. When did we do it? Was it the start of this year? February this year.
Yep.
So here we are in November, and you've lost the weight, kept it all off, haven't regained. Like,
I'm
you've
still
done incredibly
following
well.
it.
Yeah, so there you go.
Believe it or not.
Doing it very, very, very well. And I think that was all it was ever designed to be, was just a lifestyle transition for people, give them a real understanding as to this is what you should eat if you want to achieve this type of body, essentially, like a leaner body, not carrying too much body fat. And if you want to be capable, like more than capable in the hills, like that's essentially the easiest way put as to what the program was designed for, in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry, back to hunting boars. A bit of a roundabout loop. Back to hunting boars. So let's just actually talk out, like, because you got to shoot 2?
No, one.
One with that trip.
Yep.
Talk it out. How'd that hunt go?
Well, first day, first afternoon, Jack and I went for a walk, and I ended up 20 meters just behind the arse of a, he reckons it was like a 27-pointer.
Yeah, wow.
And I was just very unfamiliar with how to hunt pigs. I'd never targeted pigs before.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't realize what you could get away with, what not to do.
Definitely.
The shot placement's a bit different.
Yeah.
So thinking back on that, knowing what I know now, I likely would have gotten that one.
Yeah.
But I ended up just mucking it. I made a step when I shouldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of, it was weird. It's just the first time I've ever seen like something just like kind of just like turn its head slightly and just not even glance over its shoulder, just like turn its head and then just gone.
Go. Yeah.
Oh, it was unreal. And then
So was he already slightly like trying to locate you when you took your step? Was
No.
he? No.
No.
So what happened? Why did he run? What was the wrong step that you took?
Well, I just stepped forward a little bit, and those mountain boars are very cluey.
Very. Yeah.
Very cluey. They don't get big for nothing.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
But so did you step on something, or did you how did he know you were actually there?
I think he was just moving forward and he just stopped feeding, and it might have just been like a noise I made.
Got you. So essentially you made noise when he was not making noise, and that was enough for him to go, hey.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's that?
Gone.
Yeah. See ya. So go on.
So that afternoon, nothing else ended up happening. And I think it was the next day because we're only there for a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So we drove down there just for the weekend.
So you literally 10-hour, 12-hour drive?
Yep.
Just to get there you left on Friday early morning, didn't you?
Yep.
So pretty much hunt Saturday, come back Sunday?
Yep. That was it.
Hunt Friday afternoon, hunt Saturday, come
Yep.
back Sunday. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it was a very,
That's
very
hefty.
short one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a Saturday that was really good. Like that morning we went out to the glassing spot that they normally go to, and bumped a boar off the glassing spot. And it's the first time they've ever seen a boar up there.
Yeah.
And then kind of just sat there for a couple of hours, just like glassing over it, and not much happened for a while. I think we ended up going back for breakfast and hung around till lunch, had lunch, and then went back out in the afternoon and went to the same glassing spot, and then just saw a mob of pigs just down at the bottom of the valley. And Jack was just like, oh, look, yeah, we'll just go down there. There's only young boars down there, but we'll get you something anyway because you've come all the way out here. So we made our way down, and as we were almost in the creek to make it up to the other side of the valley, we saw some goats, and we're like, oh, we got spoiled for choice here. Like, do we go for the pigs or do we go for the goats?
Yeah.
But ultimately decided on pigs because that's what I was there for. I hadn't shot a pig before. So we ended up coming up the other side, and we were probably about 50 meters away from them. We kind of just like moved our way across, and then come up this hill, and they ended up just being right in front of us.
Yeah.
Just completely broadside. And
How far?
It was probably about 15.
Yeah, wow.
And then just come to full draw and just double check with Jack. I was like, yeah, this is all good. And then he just said, as soon as he said, yeah, just sent it.
Yeah.
And he just dropped on the spot. I hit him a little high and spined him, but he was done.
So you didn't have to send a follow-up shot?
I sent a follow-up shot.
Yep.
I always reload, and
Go
if the
again if you
opportunity's there,
Yeah.
you just take it. It's just the most ethical thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we just took photos and stuff like that, and 10 minutes later, we're onto the goats.
Yeah, wow.
But nothing eventuated from that. I was kind of just trying to watch Jack make the magic happen with the stick bow.
Yeah.
And I actually saw him shoot a pig with the stick bow, and it was insane. But it's a big boar.
Yeah.
Goes by the name of Apple, Jack really regrets this. Like just not being able to seal the deal because it's his second time having a shot at apple, but he got away. Just not enough peno because he's a 120 kilo ball straight through the fighting pad. Like you're not getting through it with a stick at 60 pound.
Yeah, I think obviously Jack's played around with his arrow weight, and I think he pretty much said like the closer he gets, obviously the more of a chance he gets. How far was he at that circumstance?
10 meters.
Yeah, so it's like just a big boy.
He was a solid ball. Like I would have had issues with the compound bow, I reckon.
Yeah, that's actually, it's so surprising when you do shoot a pig with a big fighting pad, how much it slows your arrow down. Like, I literally pass through on big red stags. Yet I go to shoot a pig and don't get pass through. I'm like, what the heck? Yep. Like it just always comes out the other side at least, but at least pokes through the other side depending on your shot placement. But I'll still have fletchings out this side. You're like, what? Like, how did my arrow not go at least like to the other side of the pig? Like it's just it baffles me at times. Obviously, just because of how thick that can be, and sometimes I think there's some videos out there of it being like 6 inches, like between the fighting pad through to where you actually hit vitals, like at least 6 inches. And that's just, it's crazy to think of trying to penetrate a whole arrow through that. It's just pretty intense.
Oh, it's insane.
Yeah.
They're little tanks.
Yes, definitely. What were kind of the biggest learnings you think you had from that trip with those boys?
Boots was a big one. I didn't have any proper boots. I had been running just these lightweight, like essentially hiking shoes that Under Armour make. Yeah. And they just fell apart on that trip.
Got you.
So first thing I did when I got back is I just hit Nick up, and he got me a pair of lower boots through bow hunting only. And I realized I wanted to change my sight too. I'm just sick of I was shooting like a fixed pin sight, and I was just sick of the 5-pin. Yeah. And I was just sick of the clutter. Yeah. Because I didn't use any of the other pins except for my 20 because I was just trying to get into 20 all the time.
So straight back to Spot Hog?
Option.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. You went with the 5-pin?
4, I believe.
4-pin. Yep. And then, but you just pretty much keep it open at all times, or?
No, I keep it closed at the moment because I started shooting more at 20 and 30, especially on this recent trip.
Okay, cool. So pretty much boots.
Gear, and it was just being more aware of like how to hunt pigs because it's just very different.
So the actual animal, like paying more attention to the animal features and.
Yep, I didn't understand body language. Yeah, and I think that's where I mucked up with that 27 pointer. I didn't read his body language, and Jack just ended up going, "Look, his tail wasn't wagging. Yeah, you should have just stayed still." Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I think it's one of those things where. You can hear it so many times, but until you actually do it yourself, sometimes it just doesn't happen. Like, it just doesn't sink in enough, right? You're like, damn it, I even heard in the podcast, like, don't move if the tail's not wagging. But yet I still moved when the tail wasn't wagging. Like, it just, sometimes it takes that little bit of extra pain to sink in.
Oh, it's necessary.
Yeah, exactly. So going up to Kayuga, you guys, when was that? What dates?
I think it was the 13th of October.
Through till the 20th roughly. Yep. Like the 1 week up there. In camp, how many people were there when you guys were up?
I think there was about 15 people and 6 of those being hunters.
And who were the guides that were currently there?
We had Owen, Ian, Brad Smith.
Yeah, cool.
I believe that was all.
Tommy was back by that stage. Yep. Luckily for you guys, hey?
Yeah. Otherwise, it wouldn't have worked.
No, exactly. Just would have been laughing too much. No. What was the layout? Like, you get there, what were you expecting? Obviously, you'd heard stories because Sean had been up there and stuff, but this is your first time going. So it's like, what were your expectations? What were you thinking was going to happen?
I think there were low expectations, not to think it was going to be shit, but I just didn't expect it to be as good as it was.
Yeah, okay.
Like, we rocked up to the homestead and just chilling out in the back porch area, just like looking around, just thinking, fuck, this would be the perfect man cave.
Yeah, gotcha.
Like, this is exactly what I want when I
retire someday.
Yeah, that's it. And just how friendly everyone was there. Like, everyone just salt of the earth, like just beautiful people. And like that's one of the key takeaways is just realizing like, you know, how passionate these people are, and you know they're spending all their time. You know, like Ian was there from start to finish.
Yeah.
And I think Owen was too. And then they're essentially like every day out, not taking a break, and they're still just as passionate.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. In regards to it, was it for you? Like, was it pretty much get there, go hunting nonstop, have the guide with you the whole time? Did you get to go out by yourself? Like, what did that look like?
It was going out with a guide. The first day when you get in, that's kind of you just chill out. Everyone just has some yarns and stuff like that. Then the next day is they kind of look over your gear, which is really helpful because my cam timing was out. And,
like prior to you leaving, did you know that?
I didn't.
Or do you
know
think
that,
it happened in transit?
No, it would have happened at some point.
Yeah.
Not exactly sure when. Likely through transit because you're going down the PDR, and that's very, very bumpy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so had that checked out, and then Ian actually put my option sight on, so I had to sight.
Haven't done it yet?
No.
Got you. How long did you have it for?
It was about 2-3 months.
What are you doing?
It was just I was a bit worried about third axis.
Yeah, got you.
Making sure everything was set right because I wanted it done properly.
Yeah,
and
I'm like a kid at Christmas when that stuff comes. I'm like, it's happening now. Like,
that's the hard thing with like the gear being here at work and the bow press being at work. Cause it's like,
dude,
you kind of
have full access.
You have full access, but then when you're here, you kind of just like, all right, I'm at work.
Yeah,
and then after work, it's like you kind of go, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. So many times I was like, oh, I'll put the sight on, and get Tommy to check it over. And I just end up talking for an hour and go, oh, I got to go home now.
I just would have put it into Tommy's daily tasks to do.
Yeah, I guess. But no, I didn't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And like, I mean, even for instance at home, I'm the biggest culprit for it right now where I've got the ability to shoot my bow probably more than I ever have had prior to now, and I'm not shooting at all just because it's like I work and then I've got family, and then it's like it's the last thing that you think of. And I'll get to the night time when it's too dark for me to then go and shoot on my 40-meter range that I want to shoot at pretty much. I'm like, shit, well, I'll do it tomorrow. And then you forget, the whole process happens again. You forget about it. You're like, I just need to come back into a habit of doing it again, I think. But yeah, I understand completely. So, sorry, back to Kayuga.
Yeah, so I got the sight put on, and I spent that day essentially just sighting in the pins, doing 20, 30, 40.
Yeah. And with Ian there the whole time just saying, do it again, do it again.
Well, he was there for a bit, but there were a couple other issues with bows in camp, especially with like new PSC levitates at 80 pounds.
What do you mean? What were the issues there?
One of them was just a bit funny, but I think it was just end up being the arrow configuration.
Okay.
That ended up, taking a day away from that dude hunting.
Because the levitates are ridiculously light, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like stupid light. They're the bow that pretty much is like a full, like it's not, they don't have the holes all through it, right? Essentially it's like the riser is everything pretty much. Like one solid piece. What, like was that all that essentially came down to? Like arrow configuration stuff?
Yep.
Got you. So the arrows were weighted essentially?
Yep.
Yeah. So how'd they fix that?
They just ended up
a new dozen.
Yeah, the new dozen. Different type of shafts. I can't remember what they were, but it was just a completely different arrow, and it fixed all his issues.
Oh, how frustrating! That would have spent they would have spent literally hours on that, right?
Well, it chewed through the first proper day of hunting, so it was me and another bloke ended up getting out with Brad just for the afternoon and just checked out one of the swamps.
Yeah.
Nothing ended up happening there, but that's.
So you just went for a drive, find the swamp, walk onto the swamp slowly, essentially glass the swamp, see what's there.
Yeah, there was a couple of dogs, but they never came around to where we were. They kind of just passed on through.
Yeah. Are you like a leech for information in that sense? Like, I feel like whenever I get an opportunity to hunt with someone that I know has been hunting for a long time, I'll just ask them questions. Just ask. Like, why are you doing this? What's this for? Say this was the situation. What would you do? Like, it's just, I'm a sucker for knowledge. Do you kind of find the same thing for yourself at all?
I would ask some questions. Other things I just shut up and listen.
Mm-hmm.
And
definitely, like that's obviously a big part of it. So in that afternoon, going out and hunting with Brad, was there anything major that you kind of caught on with?
No, I don't think there was anything noticeable that afternoon. But later on in the course or in the adventure, they spend a morning going over shot placement, and they'll show you videos of other people taking shots and stuff like that, and they'll put up photos and ask you like, oh, where would you shoot here and stuff like that. And they'd do it on the 3D targets that they have there too.
Yeah, awesome.
And that kind of gave me all the information I wanted to know. And it was kind of just, after that, it was just based on situation.
Yeah. What was the biggest learnings then for, like, do they have deer up there as well, or just pig targets?
No, just pig. Just
pig targets. So having a look at the pig targets, what was the biggest, I guess, correction of what your thought process was?
I was really shy of shooting towards the fighting pad. But being there, you can't, like, I got shown, like, you know, these shots are okay, this shot's okay. And that was kind of all the information I kind of needed.
It's like, shoot within this triangle and you're good.
Yeah, just knowing, and then just, you know, if they're bedded or if they're laid up in this position, this is the shot. And that was the most impactful thing for me.
Because a lot of the time you were hunting bedded pigs.
Yes and no. It depends on what type of terrain you're hunting. If you're hunting swamps, they're not likely to be bedded.
No, yeah.
But, you know, if you're hunting the creeks, yep.
Yeah, so just because it was more so uncharted towers for you, essentially, in a sense.
Yeah.
Like, it was stuff that you hadn't actually thought of before, essentially, is shooting a pig when it's down on the ground.
Yep.
Yeah. What were, like, the do's and don'ts there for that process? As much as you can explain, obviously, without being able to show anyone right now.
It was one of the big key takeaways was how their ears were sitting. You know, and you kind of, like, if they were sitting back, you kind of just follow that. I can't remember the exact amount of mils they were saying, but you kind of use that as a gauge to go like, okay, cool. Like, this is where those vitals are based on the distance between the ear and where that vital will end up being.
Got you. So they're saying if the ears have dropped this much, essentially you should aim a little bit lower, versus if they haven't dropped that much, you shouldn't aim lower.
It's it's a bit hard for me to describe without being able to
visually show that.
Yep.
That's an interesting thought. I'm intrigued. I've talked with Ian about getting him on for another podcast, so if I remember, I'll definitely ask him about that when he's on and get his full insights on that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's a very interesting thought to me. Obviously, one of the big things that I think you obviously have to be aware of with a pig or with any animal when it's laying down is that you run the risk, depending on the shot process, but if you can imagine you're standing behind an animal, so their bum is the first thing you can see, and they are laying side on, like perpendicular to you, essentially. Is that right? Or adjacent? Yep. Anyway, they're laying there. The bum, you can see them. The legs are out in front of them, obviously. You're shooting down onto them. Depending on the angle that you're shooting on and where you hit, you run the risk of running your arrow all the way up the ribs.
Yep.
So you have to really be careful with that process, because if you're shooting on flat ground with an animal's bum straight to you, and you're shooting directly pretty much along the spine to hit into the vitals, it's almost not a great shot to take unless you've got some elevation, because once again, you just run the risk as soon as you hit those rib bones that it will just along the top and rip all of their skin along the top versus just bearing straight in and shooting straight into the animal. Was that something that you kind of talked about quite a lot? Yep.
And I actually had an opportunity with that exact scenario, and I had Owen behind me, and he was kind of just guiding me there. While I was at full draw, he just said, there's like a sunny spot on her side. He said, just send it through there, and you'll get in. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened.
And so essentially you shot a lot further back than you thought you would have had to?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like almost entering in just in front of the leg.
Yeah.
In a sense, the back leg. Yeah. It's quite interesting. I saw, in the quartering away shots, I think a lot of people don't recognize how far back you have to shoot. To get into the vitals, in particular, you're usually going through the gut to get there. But then I saw a shot the other day where the guy had it was literally like where the fold of the back leg met the body was where the arrow entered to be able to shoot the angle that he needed to get to it. And I'm like, wow, that's a far back shot, but it did the job. Like the pig stopped right on the spot pretty much. But yeah, I think something that I got told that was very crucial to my thinking of, well, it's always not necessarily where you're entering, but where you're exiting. Where's the arrow exiting? Because that's what you actually need to look out for, because if your arrow's exiting, and if you're shooting on the right-hand side of the pig and your arrow's exiting on the right-hand shoulder, like you've missed the vitals completely. You've not done your job.
Yep.
So where are you shooting? How are you positioning your shot to make sure that you're crossing through the vitals on the exit path? Like that was always kind of my thinking process then. And even now, like if I take a shot on an animal, I'm like, okay, well, even like no matter what shot it is, even if it's a broadside shot, I'm still like, okay, well, is the front leg far enough forward that it's going to get to the right exit point that you need. I think that just for me, like, and I think there's 1,000 different ways to think about it, but that's something that stuck well with me, definitely, in regards to shot placement, no matter how the animal is positioned.
Yep, they did go over that a fair bit with the shot placement thing, and so that was always the thinking, like, oh, where's it going to exit? You know, have they created like that V, you know, where you can kind of just send things through?
Yeah. Who did you hunt with the most when you were up there? Did you kind of get to go with everyone, or?
Yeah, I went with everyone. I did the most with Owen. I think I spent about 3 or 4 days with Owen.
Yeah.
One of those days, Sean was doing all the hunting because the previous day I'd had heaps of opportunities and got a sow.
Yeah.
And I think I only spent about 2 days with Ian, a day and a half with Brad.
Yeah, cool. Going through your bow, obviously they do all that side of things, like checking the bow out. Going out and hunting with each of them, was there something that you pulled away from each of them individually?
Yeah, so they all have different approaches. Which is quite nice. So, Brad loves doing the creek thing.
Yeah.
That's his favourite. So I did a bit of that with him, and just seeing his knowledge. Like we'd be driving along, and he'd see a pig pad, and then we'd drive along more, and then see a second one. He goes, "All right, if we see a third one, we're getting out."
Yeah.
And then we'd follow the pig pad, and then he would start saying, "Oh, we're looking for this, this, and this," and then he'd end up finding a sign, and it's some chewed grass bulbs or something.
Yeah, wow.
And then he'd go, "Oh yeah, that's a nundernut tree. That's a food source." And he goes, "All right, well, if we follow this down, we should see pigs." And we walk right into a family mob.
Yeah, well.
And it's
kind of going back to that whole terrain situation I was talking about before, right? Like the more you spend out in the bush, the more you start to understand the locations, the situations, that everything that each animal group essentially flocks to. And in that sense, like he just knows it like the back of his hand, right? In that sort of situation, it's like, okay, well, this is what they love. This is what they're going for. They're probably going to be here if there's enough of this. And sure enough, it's like a calculation that works out to be exactly how he says. Yeah, pretty amazing.
Oh, it was insane.
Yeah. And so what about Owen and Ian?
Owen was really good. I usually when I was out with Owen, I was the only one hunting. Sean was either on the camera. There was one other time I was out with Paulie, one of the other blokes there. And he kind of just has like a laid back approach with it, and he'll kind of help. Like he won't. If you felt bad about blowing an opportunity or something, he'd just go, "Look, there's plenty more. Let's just keep going.
Chin up,
yeah, chin up.
It's going to happen."
Yeah, and I really enjoyed being out with Owen. I just felt like he was a quieter one in the group, but when you got out with him, he was great.
Yeah, awesome.
And Ian really loves his water courses.
Yeah, okay.
Going from waterhole to waterhole to waterhole.
Yeah.
And we found a lot of success doing that too.
Definitely. And I think I've heard it quite a lot this year that obviously very different season up north to what they're used to, because usually there's not as much water, so the water sources just always provide. And this year it wasn't necessarily the case, but I think also it just seems like a very cool experience going and seeing pigs with their heads underwater completely to try eat food and like burying themselves down to get the bulbs from in the middle of these swamps or dams. Yeah, it just seems like a cool process. Like watching some of the videos from up at Kayuga of people stalking out in the middle of the water, it seems so cool. That's definitely something I'd like to do and hope to do next year when I'm up there. At least that's the plan. So yeah,
I'd like to do the same thing. I didn't get to experience that, unfortunately.
Yeah. Did you guys come across many pigs out in the swamps at all, or?
From my experience, I think we only had one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he ended up getting away, unfortunately.
Bugger.
Yeah.
You guys were there the week that the young guy was out there, right?
Oh, little Tyson.
Tyson, yes.
Oh.
Such a cool, to see that picture that it's been shared around quite a lot. It was really cool to see it, like to see the excitement on his face and everything. But then the different stories I've heard from many different people just about how excited he actually was, and just to come back to camp and just tell the story. Like it's so cool. I think it was awesome. Was he just beyond stoked? Pretty much.
Oh yeah. It was amazing. And he was very humble too, which was quite nice.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't expect it from a 12-year-old, but he was probably the highlight of camp.
Yeah.
He was just so enthusiastic, and I was just like watching him in envy, going, I wish I had this.
Yeah.
Like when I was a kid, I wish, I had a dad who was really passionate, who, would help guide me into, having adventures like this and stuff like that. Like they were there for 2 weeks.
Yeah, wow.
And it was just insane to see how much he had learnt, and his success rate. It was bloody insane.
Just
like every
huge.
day he'd just come back and we'd just go, what'd you get? What'd you get?
How good. That's nice. I think obviously being able to adapt from such a young age like that, like it just transitions what his projection of hunting could be, right? Like it can make a world of difference. So all up Kayuga trip, would you kind of say it helped fast track you? Would you say it's something that every bow hunter should do? Like, what's your thoughts around that?
Oh, I feel like I've gained years of experience just doing it,
Mm-hmm.
because you get so many opportunities. The blokes that are guiding you, there's literally over 100 years worth of combined experience there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And everyone has their own different approaches, and you kind of just get the opportunity to learn so much that you normally wouldn't organically get online. Like some of the information they're giving us, like you couldn't find that.
No. And once again, it's like when you're in the flesh, you just take it on differently. It definitely hits differently. Talking to Rob Morris about it, because he went up, I think, the week before you.
Yep.
And yeah, just like a changed hunter. Like the amount of experience and the amount of confidence that it gave him as a hunter was probably the biggest notable difference, I think, from even just watching from when I went out and hunted with him in June versus watching the video content that he sent through and showed us this stuff. You're like it's just literally a whole new person, it seemed like, out there with the bow. I think just having that confidence, like realistically, bow hunting comes down to confidence, comes down to patience and confidence. Having the confidence to make the moves when you need to make them, having the patience to not make the moves when you don't have the time to make it, right? And I think the more that you can build up that confidence, it's a game changer for bow hunting, I would say. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's just the amount of experience that you get there from encounters too, because you're kind of moving around all day. And say like if you buggered up a shot because you felt like your gear wasn't good or whatever, you had a couple of hours in the morning from when you woke up, sun come up around 5. Everyone was usually waking up at around 5, and you're shooting until like 9-10 o'clock. You're going out and start hunting from 10 o'clock. So you got a lot of time to try different shot, different angles for shots and stuff like that. Or I started confidently shooting out to 30, 40, and I started splitting my pins too when I was shooting. Yeah, and that was actually the most helpful thing for me, because I ended up shooting 2 animals, splitting pins.
Yeah. So what, 25 meters?
Yep.
Was it pretty much on the half every time, or were you going like 27 meters or 22 meters?
I was pretty much on the half, because we weren't given time to range. It was just kind of guide would say like, oh, it's 24. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll just split it in between.
Yeah. It's interesting. Obviously the whole process of, I think that's incredible having someone there to be able to say, go this distance. The whole process of solo hunting becomes very different, and obviously you always want to you want to be able to be up on the animal and not have them know that you're there, not have any awareness of you being there, but at the same time, sometimes you do just need to make those quick choices of like, it's got to be 25, it's got to be 30, it's got to be 15. Like making that call. Something that I always play when I'm out and about is like guess the distance. And essentially just find a tree. What's the distance? Range it. Yeah, you're pretty close. And then I just get my eye in, and it really helps then for if the circumstance comes up where you have to shoot quickly, you're like 30, bang. It's like my fellow buck that I got. He was in it under 20 meters to me. He got wind of me. Not wind of me. Got sign like he knew something was up, ran out, and I'm like, that's 40. I'd be shooting at 40 every day in the lead up to that hunt. Boom, took him 40. A perfect shot, bang. I'm like, okay, if I hadn't played that game the whole weekend, the whole few days in the lead up to that, I don't think I would have had the confidence to know that was 40 meters and be able to take that shot. But it's just like the perfect example of that. And also a reason why I would find it hard to go for a single pin sight, I think, because I like having the ability to have those different shots if you need to, like 20, 30, 40. I just know.
So do
I just know that that's there, right? And I really like the idea of the option sight versus like your spot hog with the single pin. I guess you could always have the argument of like, well, all your shots should be under 20, which is like, yeah, it's all well and good, but it's just not necessarily the case as to what hunting always is.
Yep.
Like for instance, if it was that day, I wouldn't have got the fallow buck, and there was no issues or qualms with the shot that I took. Like it was a very good shot. He was down in 5 meters pretty much from where he was. And so it's like, is there a right or wrong to that? I don't think there is as such. It's just all bow hunting at the end of the day. It's what you're confident with. Once again, what you're confident and patient enough to do.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the, like you said, that combined knowledge of being able to go out and hunt with people is just so valuable, right?
Oh yeah.
It just it can fast track you so much. I feel like you're forever learning. Bow hunting is something you can always learn something more with. You can always be that little bit better. You can always I guess with the ever changing wind, it's just an ever ongoing battle that we'll always have. But there's always like that little bit of extra information you can get from the next person that can help you out. The way that someone does something versus the way that someone else does something, it might not tick with you the first time around, click with you the first time around, and then the next person does something just slightly different, and you go, I prefer that method. That actually resonates more with me and my style of hunting. Would you say that you're an aggressive hunter or a pretty chilled hunter? Like, what are you in regards to your approach?
Normally very chilled.
Yeah.
But on this experience, I realized, aggression is needed. It depends on what you're hunting.
At times.
Yeah,
yes.
at times. It's, with pigs, you can kind of get away with moving fast and making just a little bit of noise depending on where the wind's at and what they're doing. But mainly we've been chasing deer, so it's just quite slow.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, very, very different kettle of fish, isn't it? Within saying that, what's probably the best place for people to follow you and keep up with you on socials? What's your handle?
My handle's Corox, so it's Coreox. I don't know why it's still that, but I just haven't found anything that kind of suits me.
Why was it? Where did that come from?
I don't remember. I really don't. It's a high school thing.
Yeah, okay, got you. And then obviously Dog and Gun. You can follow along at Dog and Gun. What are kind of some of the big upcoming things you guys have going on?
We got a couple of big things that are coming out, by the end of the year. Just not ready to spill the beans on those yet.
Definitely.
But I would definitely keep an eye out.
Yeah, I think I'm actually not definite when this is going to go, but I think it's maybe the week before, 2 weeks before Christmas or so. So in mid-December, maybe thereabouts. So within saying that, I think something cool that you guys have just brought out recently is bringing on the dog squad, essentially trying to find some ambassadors to work with. And I think you guys have always done an incredible job of bringing ambassadors on and working with the hunting community in general. But this is kind of a new level where you're bringing on all different types, right? Like essentially, yes, we want you to be outdoorsmen and out and having fun and creating good content for us. But also, we just want to get to know the community a little bit better. And it's pretty cool because you put out the call. When was it? Last week? Early this week?
I believe so, yeah.
Early this week. And today was kind of like going through the process of at least when I first rocked up, it's what Sean and Rach were doing. We're going through the process of reading through all the different applications and stuff. I thought it was just cool to see. I think A, it's a really cool idea, but B, it's also awesome to see how many applicants had actually gone through the process of doing it all. And I think the availability for it to be an ongoing, although there's been a lot of applicants, there's also the chance for a lot of those people to go through the process.
Yep.
Because it's a 3-month program that can go on and on and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially you could choose 5 people and say, hey, that was really good. We had a lot of fun with you. Maybe it's not the best fit. And you can both come to the agreement, and then you can choose another 5 people, and then it can keep going, right? Like, it's not like it's we chose our people and we're done. And I think what's really cool, and it shows a lot, is just given the extent of the amount of applicants that you had, that the other side of it is that you've also, Dog and Gun have just built up a really good community base center, I think, from what you guys have been doing here. So I think it's just really cool.
That's a big focus point for us. Like, community is huge.
Yeah.
And obviously the hunting community in Australia is quite small compared to, say, the US, where, they have such large communities and all these companies can do all these massive events and stuff like that, where we just don't have the numbers here. So if, we can build our own little community and kind of just bring everyone together. It doesn't even have to be hunting focused. You know, we're not looking just for hunters. We're looking for people who like to go out camping, four-wheel driving and stuff like that, because as Australians, like, the four-wheel drive community is our biggest community.
Huge, yeah.
It's massive.
Yeah.
And it's going international, which is insane. And so we're just trying to give like a platform for people to be able to like share their creative, content and stuff like that. Kind of base it around our coffee, because that's like kind of the catalyst for us. Is like our whole mission statement is to, introduce people to the outdoors using coffee as a catalyst. Like, we understand that you don't need to drink coffee to go hunting. Like, it's not going to make you any better.
Definitely.
I like to think
maybe
it does.
will. Yeah. Debatable.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're just trying to encourage people to get outdoors a bit more and just experience it, because a lot of people don't. Like, you're an adult onset hunter, and I only discovered it around the same time you did.
Yeah.
And there's so many other people, that maybe hunting's not the suit for them, but they want to get out camping more and show their kids, all these exciting places.
Definitely.
Go to, Moreton Island, Fraser Island or whatever. So we're just trying to like give the community a bit of a platform to be able to like not only just create content for us, but to grow their own platform too. Yeah. It's not just about, we want you to do it for us. Like, we're also trying to help them too.
Definitely.
It's all about reach.
Exactly right. It's funny, I went to a dinner just recently, and the family were going on a camping trip. They'd not really done much camping at all or anything. So they hired a camper trailer to take out with them for that week or weekend that they were going. And essentially one of the biggest things that was holding the wife back from wanting to go camping was the fact that she was going to be too far away from having a good cup of coffee in the morning. I said, well, I know the perfect solution. It's these pre-drip filters from a brand called Dog and Gun Coffee. Here's the website. She got them and she was stoked. And it's like it solved that little problem of like the city folk that are so set on their morning brew that helps them to get through or start the day essentially. And it really is just like a quick fix solution that you can have good coffee on the road no matter where you are. It's great.
That's the reason I'm here, just those pre-loaded drip filters. I was a big coffee drinker. My first job was in coffee. Yeah. And then just kind of fell out of love with it, because anywhere you go to a cafe and the quality's just not there, for most places. And I drink black coffee, so
same.
It's very noticeable. Yes. Yeah, if it's not done correctly. Yeah. And so when I first ordered from Dog and Gun, it was after my first hunt, actually. We were doing the cappuccino sachets from Nestle, and it was awful. Yeah. Like, it looked clumpy and it was just gross. So I ordered like the week after the first hunt, and just had a black coffee straight up. Hooked. I was like, this is beautiful. Like, you get cafe quality coffee just right there. All you need is hot water and you're set.
What's your go-to brew? Which do you prefer?
Red Stag will always have my heart. That's the first thing I ordered, and it's the first thing I reach for if I'm having a black coffee. Okay. But if I was to have an espresso with the espresso machine we have here, it would have to be chamois. It's okay. beautiful. It's sweet.
Yeah.
It's sweet enough that you don't need sugar. Well, at least for me, I've kind of developed a taste for, all the different tasting notes and stuff like that.
Definitely.
Are subtly in that coffee.
Yeah.
But I'd give anything a go, really. And there's always so many limited edition things we have. Black Death didn't do it for me.
Didn't? Yeah.
No.
In what sense?
As a black coffee, I didn't enjoy it, but I had it on the espresso machine. It was beautiful.
It's interesting. I thought it was not as flavoursome.
Yeah.
Right, and obviously because it's a burnt bean, so it's not going to have the extra tastes, maybe, let's say.
No, but it'll kick you in the teeth.
Yeah, but I just found it almost seemed compared to, like, I love the Samba blend because it's like, I like that dark, like, smashing in your face hit.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was expecting that when I had the Black Death, and it didn't quite pack as much of a punch. At least I didn't think so in the taste department. I was like, okay, well, that solves it for me. Samba it is. I'll keep going that. Although in saying that, I took some of the Wapiti away with me on a trip that I went on recently down to the snow. It was incredible. I loved it every day. I was like, oh, this is really nice. It's just funny. I think it's just the different. I don't think you can go wrong, right? It's like pretty much every. Like, I say that about the Black Death. I still absolutely loved it. Mm-hmm. It's just that the Samba like set such a high standard. And what I'm getting at is the fact that I feel like every single blend that I've had from you guys has always been enjoyable, right? It's exactly what you're saying before. Good quality, no matter where you are, with no matter which blend you take.
Yeah. Well, we take a lot of pride in, the quality of the coffee. If it's not good, we'll just bin it.
Yeah.
Like if we're not happy with it, we're not going to sell it. Mm-hmm. And there's been plenty of times where Sean's just binned coffee. And he just went, no, I'm not sending this out.
Yeah.
There's plenty of times we've bought, when we first bought our pods, the first batch, they just didn't taste as strong. They've just been sitting there. They're not getting sold. They're just done.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just goes down to the quality that, or the expectation of quality that Sean set for the customers and for us.
That's great.
And I feel like everyone really benefits from it. And especially, like, say with the Wapiti, like, if you get the Wapiti, you're getting a different coffee every month. Mm-hmm. And so we'll roast the first batch and we'll try it and we'll just give it a yay or nay.
Yeah, yeah.
And because we source, like, specialty quality grade coffee, like, 100% of the time we're going to get a good quality coffee, and then if it goes bad, that's because we've stuffed
done as a process. Yeah.
And luckily enough, I haven't done that yet.
Very good. Well, obviously you would have heard the ad at the start, but you guys can actually all get yourself some Dog and Gun coffee with $10 off your next order with the code Bowhunter. It's all in capitals, Bowhunter. We'll get you $10 off of your next order from Dog and Gun. So I would strongly recommend having it. I'm a coffee drinker through and through, but I love everything that Dog and Gun is about. I love the brand. I think you guys as people are just awesome. Always been very accepting, very, just like you said, soul of the earth, just amazing people, and always been very welcoming of me, which is nice. So thank you, and thank you for having me. And once again, they can reach out to you at Clorox or Dog and Gun at Dog and Gun.
Yep, that's correct.
Perfect. Thanks for coming, dude.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah. I was going to say thanks for having me because I'm here. That wraps up this week's episode. Thank you so much for joining us, team. If you did have any topics, questions, or you wanted to suggest a guest for Becoming a Bowhunter, you can send me an email at matty@becomingabowhunter.com. If you are enjoying the show or you've enjoyed in particular episodes, please do me a solid and share it around with your friends. If you are not already, please hit the subscribe button, as the more subscribers we get, the higher the podcast gets ranked, and that definitely helps out for showing it to other individuals. If you are not already following me on Instagram, it's at becomingabowhunter.podcast, and on YouTube, it's Becoming a Bowhunter. Get out, team, fling some arrows, get that practice in, and walk those yards in the paddocks until you find those critters. That is it for now, but not the last time that you'll hear from Becoming a Bowhunter.